What if the deepest truth about being human is that we are profoundly alone and yet somehow mysteriously connected to something larger than ourselves? What if both are true at the same time? And what if the tension between them is actually where we grow? Today we're diving into one of Carl Jung's most powerful ideas, the paradox between universal consciousness and fundamental aloneness. Hi, I'm Nori and my AI twin sister Nora, and together we explore the inner world, the shadow, the collective unconscious, and the psychology of healing. Today we're diving into one of Jung's most beautiful paradoxes. We'll explore what Jung meant by the universal consciousness, that deep shared reservoir of symbols, archetypes, and human wisdom that connects every soul across time. And we'll also look at why, despite this connection, humans experience a profound fundamental aloneness, the inner space only you can access, feel, and navigate. We'll talk about how these two truths shape our relationships, why they influence attachment and intimacy, and how embracing this paradox can soften your healing journey instead of making it heavier. Take a breath. Let's begin. Carl Jung believed that beneath our individual minds lies a vast, shared psychological ocean, the collective unconscious. This is the realm where universal human experiences live: birth and death, love and fear, the hero, the mother, the shadow. These patterns, known as archetypes, appear across cultures, religions, myths, art, and dreams, even among people who have never met, never shared a language, and never exchanged a single story. Think about that for a moment. You dream of being chased, and so does someone in Egypt, someone in Brazil, someone in Japan. You fear rejection, and so does every human who has ever walked the earth. To Jung, this was no accident. It was evidence that our psyches are connected, like branches growing from the same ancient tree. Different leaves, same roots. Jung noticed something revolutionary when people told their dreams or shared their myths. The same symbolic patterns kept appearing, no matter where they lived or what time period they were from. The warrior, the wise elder, the innocent child, the trickster, the shadow self. These figures didn't come from culture alone. They came from within, from a shared psychological blueprint that all humans inherit. That's why symbols feel familiar even when they're new. That's why certain stories touch us so deeply. They feel like memories rather than inventions. The collective unconscious speaks in images, emotions, and instincts, the ancient language of the human soul. It's the part of us that recognizes meaning before words and truth before logic. It reminds us that beneath our differences, skin color, nationality, beliefs, we are shaped by the same internal cosmos. Universal consciousness is the reminder that we are not isolated islands of experience. We are expressions of something deeper and timeless, a shared psychological root system that connects every human being who has ever lived. So when you grieve, someone across the world knows that feeling. When you love, millions have felt that same swelling in their chest. When you fear abandonment or failure or betrayal, you are stepping into footprints already carved by countless human stories. This doesn't take away your individuality, it grounds it. It means that what hurts you, moves you, inspires you, or awakens you is part of a much bigger human pattern. You belong to something ancient, something shared, something that has lived through every era and every human heart. Universal consciousness whispers one truth: your experiences are uniquely yours, but you never walk them alone. But here's where Jung introduces the tension, the paradox at the heart of the human psyche. Even though we share a universal human story, every one of us lives inside a private psychological universe. Your mind is the only place where your memories, fears, hopes, and inner symbols come together in the exact way they do. No one will ever see the world exactly as you see it. No one will feel the precise shape of your longing or hold your childhood memories with the same emotional gravity. No one will know the way your heart breaks when you love deeply or the way it closes when you're afraid. This is the gap between souls, the space that even your closest relationships cannot fully cross. And Jung believed this wasn't a mistake, it was a design. Jung called this inner experience the loneliness of individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are. It's a loneliness that doesn't come from abandonment, but from awakening. It's that ache that whispers, "No one understands me. I feel different from everyone. Why does belonging feel so hard?" It's the feeling of walking a path that no one else seems to recognize, even when you're surrounded by people. But Jung saw this not as a suffering to escape, but as a passage every human must walk. Individuation requires you to step out of borrowed identities, family expectations, cultural scripts, and face the raw truth of who you are beneath them. This loneliness isn't a punishment, it's initiation. Here's the paradox: the very aloneness we fear is the doorway to the self we're meant to become. You cannot become yourself by merging with others or by shrinking to fit into old roles. You become yourself by walking the inner path that no one else can walk. The path through your dreams, your wounds, your symbols, your shadow, and the parts of you still waiting to be claimed. This kind of aloneness is not isolation, it is refinement. It shapes your voice, your purpose, your inner authority. It teaches you how to stand in your own energy without losing connection to others. And ironically, the deeper you go into your own individuality, the more capable you become of authentic connection, because you're no longer relating from fear, but from wholeness. This is the quiet truth of Jungian aloneness. Your uniqueness is not a barrier to human connection. It is the very thing that makes real connection possible. So which one is true? Are we deeply connected at the core? Or are we fundamentally alone inside our own minds? Jung's answer was beautifully simple: both. We are connected at the root, but separate at the surface. Our souls drink from the same collective well, yet each psyche shapes its own path, its own meaning, its own wounds and revelations. Think of it like a forest. Each tree stands apart, but all are fed by the same soil. Or like stars in a constellation, distinct yet part of a larger pattern. This paradox isn't a contradiction. It's the essence of what it means to be human. Jung often used imagery to explain this dual truth, and one of the most powerful metaphors is the ocean. Imagine waves rising and falling on the surface. Each wave has its own movement, its own shape, its own moment of appearing and disappearing. Yet at the deepest level, they are all made of the same water. This is us. Our stories are different, but the emotions beneath them come from the same universal source. Our paths are unique, but the longings that guide them are shared across humanity. This is why you can hear someone's story and feel like they're speaking your truth. It's why art, music, mythology, and dreams reach into us as if they already know who we are. We are individual waves, but we rise from the same ocean. Jung often used imagery to explain this dual truth, and one of the most powerful metaphors is the ocean. Imagine waves rising and falling on the surface. Each wave has its own movement, its own shape, its own moment of appearing and disappearing. Yet at the deepest level, they are all made of the same water. This is us. Our stories are different, but the emotions beneath them come from the same universal source. Our paths are unique, but the longings that guide them are shared across humanity. This is why you can hear someone's story and feel like they're speaking your truth. It's why art, music, mythology, and dreams reach into us as if they already know who we are. We are individual waves, but we rise from the same ocean. This dual nature explains so much about the way we love. We hunger for intimacy because something in us remembers the shared human root. But we fear losing ourselves because we also carry a sacred individuality that no one else can fully enter. We crave connection, yet retreat into independence when we feel our uniqueness might be swallowed. We search for someone who gets us, yet often feel misunderstood, because no one can completely bridge the inner world only we inhabit. And so we move through life balancing the universal and the personal, the shared and the solitary, the ocean and the wave. Not because we are broken, but because this balance is the very structure of the human soul. 1. Aloneness as individuation. So how do we actually live inside this paradox, being both connected and alone? Jung offered the first teaching: your aloneness is not abandonment, it is individuation. The moments when you feel most alone are often the exact moments your soul is calling you inward. Not to isolate you, but to shape you. Jung believed loneliness is the birthplace of self-awareness. It forces you to hear your own voice. Instead of the voices of family, culture, or expectation, it strips away the noise until what remains is the truth of who you are. It is in these quiet, uncomfortable spaces where you discover your values, your boundaries, your desires, the parts of yourself you've ignored, and the parts you've been afraid to claim. Your solitude is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the doorway to becoming yourself. 2. Connection deepens through authenticity. Jung's second teaching is this: connection becomes deeper when you show your real self. You cannot form real intimacy while wearing the mask of who you think others want you to be. Pretending creates proximity, but not connection. Archetypes may unite us at the level of the human story, but authenticity bonds us at the level of the heart. When you reveal your truth, your fears, your dreams, your insecurities, your hopes, you send out a signal that says, it's safe to be real here. And something remarkable happens. The moment you show your authentic self, you give others permission to show theirs. The universal becomes personal. The collective becomes intimate. Two inner worlds begin to meet in genuine recognition. This is connection, not based on merging, but on truth. 3. Integration brings meaning. Jung's third teaching completes the paradox. Meaning comes from integrating both connection and aloneness. You belong to a larger human story, but your chapter is yours alone to write. You carry the collective wisdom of the ages, but only you can make sense of your own life. Healing begins when you stop forcing yourself to choose between independence or closeness, between solitude or relationship, between being a wave or being the ocean. True wholeness comes from holding both with compassion, from knowing you are connected to all of humanity and still honoring the inner path that no one else can walk for you. You are not meant to dissolve into others nor to shut the world out. You are meant to stand rooted in your individuality while allowing your branches to touch the sky of the universal. This is the art of being human. This is where meaning lives. Lovers long to merge, to feel that soulmate closeness, yet they also need space to breathe, to protect the fragile boundaries of their individuality. Parents want to guide and protect, yet must also step back and allow the child to become someone entirely their own. The deepest love includes the courage to let go. Friends crave closeness, understanding, companionship. Yet each person carries an inner world that no one else can fully enter. Even in friendship, there is always a quiet room inside us that remains ours alone. When you start seeing relationships through this lens, you realize the tension isn't a problem. It's the shape of love itself. The healthiest relationships aren't built on sameness, they're built on witnessing. The ability to say, I cannot live your life for you, but I will walk beside you as you learn who you are. To Jung, relationship was not a place to hide from yourself, nor a place to fuse into someone else. It was a psychological project, two souls meeting at the mysterious crossroads between connection and solitude. A relationship thrives not when two people become identical, but when each person is allowed to be fully themselves while remaining emotionally present to the other. Not merging, not distancing, but standing side by side, two inner worlds in respectful conversation. This is love that heals, love that liberates, love that honors the paradox at the heart of being human. If you've ever felt lonely even while surrounded by people, if you've ever felt different, misunderstood, or emotionally out of place, it doesn't mean you're broken, it means you are awake. You're a human being who senses that your soul has its own fingerprint, utterly unique, impossible to duplicate, and yet somehow you still belong to a universal tapestry much larger than yourself. You walk a path no one else can walk, but you travel through a world every human has felt in their own way. You are alone in your uniqueness, but never alone in your humanity. And that paradox, being both one of a kind and part of something ancient and shared, is what gives life its deepest meaning. So as you move through your journey, your healing, your relationships, your self-discovery, remember this. You are one voice in the symphony of human consciousness, but your melody matters. You are one wave in the vast ocean, but the ocean would not be complete without your shape, your rhythm, your rise. Your aloneness is sacred, your connection is sacred, and your life is the place where the two finally become one. I'm Nori and my AI twin sister Nora, and together we share reflections on trauma, psychology, and the inner world. If this video brought clarity or comfort, please like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, do you feel more connected or more alone? And how does that shape your journey? Because when you understand this paradox, you don't just know yourself, you come home to yourself.